guys, welcome back to Chapter in Ash. I am Ash, you are here, and I am thankful and I am pumped because I'm about to get a little vulnerable with you guys today, right? These are, out of the thousands of books that I have read in my life, these are the only 8 that I can remember actually viscerally crying, bawling, ugly crying, you name it, right? These touched me in a very, very deep way. And I might be a masochist, and probably so are you if you're watching this video. It takes one to know one, you know what I'm saying? But honestly, I find it cathartic to read sad books sometimes, or, you know, books that have a lot of sadness in it. Some of these have redemption at the end. Some of these don't. I would say most of these don't. But either way, I really seek out like really sad books, really sad movies, really sad songs. It's something about me. Maybe there's something off in me, but either way, we're going to share it with you guys today. Now, maybe a little bit of a warning here is even writing down notes on these books, right, today, I was getting choked up on some of them, just taking the notes from what I remember about these books. So, you know, hopefully we'll remain composed throughout the entire video, but, you know, either way, I will warn you a little bit in terms of trigger warnings on each of these books too, because one person's idea of a good, sad book might not be the same as another's. Anyway, let's jump into the list starting at number 8. Number 8 is A Man Called Ove. This was written in 2012 by Frederick Bachman. Now, this is a book that does have the redemption in it, right? So trigger warnings are going to be self-harm, grief. The main protagonist, Ove, is a widower, so loss of a spouse, of course. Now, I've dealt with loss in my life. I've lost my brother in his 20s and my mom in her 40s. And certainly a lot of these books, almost all of them, deal with loss in one way or another. So maybe, again, that's part of the reason that I seek out these, to kind of know that there's other people, even if it's fictional, out there who kind of feel what I was going through when I was going to say was grieving, but you still are. You never stop, do you? Those of you who've lost someone close to you out there as well. Man Called Ove is about this rule-obsessed kind of cantankerous curmudgeon of an old man, right? And he is thinking about ending his life. And
Ingen klarar sig själv, inte ens du.
Keeps kind of getting these fortuitous interruptions. He has neighbors move in, and he's really, you know, eventually he starts to slowly accept kindness and love back into his life. That does not mean the whole book is about kindness and love, though. There's a lot of harrowing backstory to Ove that is explored in this novel that is almost universally popular and praised. I haven't really met anybody who did not like this book, even if, unlike me, they didn't actually cry during the book, okay? I did write down a quote from this one, too. A few of these, I jotted down quotes that stuck with me. And this one is, to love someone is like moving into a house. At first, you fall in love with all the new things. And then over the years, the walls become weathered. But if you love the house, you learn to love all the cracks. Isn't that true? That is so true, isn't it? I mean, yeah, it speaks for itself. Anyway, A Man Called Ove comes in at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This was written in 2015. We talked about this in my 10 most disturbing books of all time video. And this book, probably unlike every other one on the list here, I just want to say it out the gate, it's not going to be for everybody. A lot of people who don't like this book really say it's just emotional terrorism, meaning that it's just making you sad, and sadder, and sadder, and sadder, and sadder. And there is not a big redemption arc like so many of the others on this list, like A Man Called Ove, for example. It really centers around 4 friends in New York City, right? Starts out with no really main character, and then as you go on, it centers on this guy named Jude. So Jude, Willem, JB, and Malcolm are all just kind of friends in New York City. It follows their love life, their work life, art, and stuff like that, their social life as well. And then it starts to center on Jude, who has this very, very dark and disturbing past, centered around the abuse that he had to go through. Okay. And then the trajectory of the book goes into the future as well, right? And every time you think something good is going to happen in this book, you get pulled down again by the weight of really reality and indifference, right? And it's a tough one. It really is. It's graphic. There's sexual abuse. There's self-harm in this as well. It's annihilating. This book is really annihilating, but it made me cry, and it's very, very, very sad. And I find that, again, cathartic. Quote from this one: "Wasn't friendship its own miracle? The finding of another person who made the entire lonely world seem somehow less lonely?" I think there's a lot of truth in that too, you know? As someone who's, you know, agnostic and sometimes deal with loneliness as well. Sometimes having that one friend, that one person can mean everything. And I think that's a little tiny bit of respite and solace that we get to experience in a book that is otherwise incredibly dark and harrowing. That is A Little Life, coming in at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult. In 2004, this was written. You guys might be familiar with the movie. I both read the book and seen the movie. Both made me cry like a little baby. Big time, big time. I don't know which I cried more in, but maybe the movie on this one, honestly. Yeah, this is a really, really good book. And also a very, very, very sad book. And it mirrors reality. Listen, I lost my mom at the age of 48 to cancer. And she was a non-smoker and a healthy person and just happy, had everything going for her in life. She was recently remarried, and I never seen her that happy. And then boom, diagnosed with stage 4 cancer out of nowhere. And then boom, a couple months later, she died. So I read this book like shortly, I think before my mom passed away. And then it took on a whole new meaning afterwards as well. And for some reason, again, I found myself drawn to it, even knowing the subject matter, which is cancer, child death, right? Medical trauma, family conflicts, all this stuff in this book, right? It's about Anna, born as a genetic match to her sister Kate, who has leukemia, okay? And basically, Anna ends up suing her own parents for the right to not have to donate her bone marrow to her sister anymore.
You're supposed to give her a kidney?
I want to sue my parents for the rights to my own body.
Would you repeat that, please?
It's about a lot more than that. Just reading the plot doesn't feel like I'm doing it justice in terms of the actual, the book itself, the relationships in this book between the sisters. The ending for me, though, that's where, like, I guess 3/4 through this book, 3/4 through the movie, for that matter, too, is where it's just like tears galore. It's tough. It's rough, right? Like, the ending feels very sudden, even though you feel like you know what's going to happen, and it feels so incredibly unfair, cruelly beautiful. And I say that in the sense that it is beautifully written. So I didn't actually jot down a quote from this one, but My Sister's Keeper, check out the movie if you want to as well, because this one really, really stuck with me. Coming in at number 5 is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, written in 2015. This is a strong recommendation, guys. And man, I wasn't expecting to be as sad on this one as I was. It's really a tearjerker, bawling by the end of this one. It's about two sisters in Nazi-occupied France, right? It's Vienna, who's a mother trying to protect her children, like focused on the practical measures of what she can do living in Nazi-occupied France, right? And the other one is Isabel, the other sister. She's more defiant. She joins the resistance. She has more of a target, more vocal, more outward-facing, really trying to make a difference and even risking her own life in doing so. It's such a unique story about World War II through the eyes of, obviously this is a fictional story, but it feels so real. It reads like it's nonfiction, and it is really emotional. Kristen Hanna has a lot of twists and turns here. You sometimes think you can trust some characters and you can't. Sometimes the character that takes the safer path sometimes ends up in a worse position than the character that doesn't take the safer path, And honestly, I'm not going to give any spoilers here, but the ending is I found it difficult. I found it kind of like the reveal at the end kind of reframes everything, and not necessarily in a lovey-dovey, mushy, happy ending kind of way, which really mirrors reality. A quote from this one is, "If I have learned anything in this long life of mine, it is this. In love, we find out who we want to be. In war, we find out who we are." So yeah, The Nightingale, I feel like I didn't really do it justice on this explanation, but trust me, this one is really, really good. Strong recommendation for everybody to check it out. Number 4 is The Fault in Our Stars, written by John Green in 2012, another movie adaptation book. I actually have not seen the movie on this one, but I have read the book. And let me tell you, I think this is, I'm not sure if it's like young adult. Is it like YA? Either way, it made me bawl like a freaking baby. This is about Hazel Grace Lancaster, a teen living with terminal cancer. And she meets this guy, Augustus, another cancer patient, a survivor though. He's in remission, and he's charming. And really, she falls in love for the first time in her life. And also, the last time in her life. Man, I'm like getting choking up just thinking about this one, honestly. There's a lot of humor and pop culture in like levity, I guess, in the relationship. But then they all know there's that sword of Damocles hanging over them, and they know that their time is eventually probably going to be up. It is, I don't know, there's one scene in this book that really stuck with me. It's the living funeral scene where Augustus asks Hazel to read her eulogy before he dies. It's tender, it's tragic, really, but it's also so real. And I mean, this is something that, you know, happens in real life all the time, and it's never easy. It's always just the worst moment of anybody's life to have somebody around them die of cancer or any disease for that matter, especially young. And this book deals with it in a way that is not, you know, doesn't feel like emotional terrorism, but it does. It's going to get tears out of you in a big way. And I think it's a good story, and it reminds us what's important in life. It reminds us to cherish the moments that we do have with those that we love. It put a lot of things in perspective for me in my own life, and that is The Fault in Our Stars at number 4. Coming in number 3 is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi, written in 2016. This one, oh my word. So I've always been preoccupied. I don't want to say obsessed, worried, preoccupied, focused on death. Ever since I was a little kid, I remember being at my home in my bed when I was probably around, I don't know, probably around 10 years old, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I remember just not being able to fall asleep every night and just dwelling. It's almost sadistic, really. And I didn't know why I did it, but this one thought would always go through my head. And that is, one day you're going to die. Like one day you will be your last breath. One day will be your last moment. One day in your life, guaranteed, you will be dying. I used to like tell myself that. I don't even know why I'm sharing this, but it's something that I really struggled with, and it's manifested in different ways, you know, throughout my years. But it's still something that really does preoccupy me. I mean, here I am reading all these books, about death, right? When Breath Becomes Air, is about a gifted neurosurgeon who's facing stage 4 lung cancer, exactly what my mom died from, right? And he's just finishing all these years of grueling training, right? And all of a sudden, he just gets absolutely blindsided by this cancer diagnosis as a doctor, right? So he goes from doctor to patient, and he has to reconcile this life at age 36, I believe, as a dying man. I thought I wrote down his age, but I guess I didn't. But he's in his 30s, and all of a sudden, he's a dying man. And his wife ended up completing the book after his death. So it's like a memoir, but it's also...
I won't live long enough for her to remember me. And so... the time is what it is.
Man, it's tough. At the end, it's almost like a love letter from the wife to the husband who passed away. The worst and best and most memorable ugly cry moment, I would say, of this book was he writes a letter to his infant daughter near the end of the book, basically telling her that her existence gave it... Sorry, basically telling her that her existence gave his life meaning. Like that's it's heartbreaking. That's a heartbreaking one. Oof, it deals with terminal illness. It deals with grief. It deals with death in a really profound way. As you can see, it stayed with me in a big, big way. And I guess I gave that long preamble about my struggle with impertinence and death. And it's just like you see that and you witness that in this book. You witness that reconciliation of death in your 30s. And that's something that I feared all my life. And this is like living out that. And it was just, man, it's a tearjerker, but it's also a beautiful, beautiful book. That's When Breath Becomes Air. Coming in at number 2 is Flowers for Algernon. This was written by Daniel Keyes in 1959. This one is about Charlie, who is my son's name, so already has a little emotional trigger for me. Charlie is an intellectually disabled individual. My brother who passed away, Sean, was autistic, and So this one has all the triggers for me personally to really resonate with it, right? And he undergoes an experimental surgery, Charlie, to make him basically more intelligent. This is like it enhances his intelligence. And Algernon is the lab mouse that tested this study on him, right? So he ends up going through with the study, and all of a sudden it starts to work, right? So Charlie becomes more and more intelligent and starts experiencing life in a way that he never did before. But then something unforeseen and awful happens, and he starts to regress. And it begins to, not only does it end up fading, but the regression just increases and increases and gets worse and worse. And that's why this story is, I mean, it speaks for itself, right? It takes an individual and it follows them through such a rise and then such an acute fall on the other end as well. Man, one of the moments that stood out with me on this one was when Charlie writes his final note asking for people to leave flowers for Algernon's grave. That one line really carries the full weight for me of human fragility. You know, the quote here is I don't know what's worse, to not know what you are and be happy, or to become what you've always wanted and to feel alone. That really resonates with me. In a lot of ways, I've never shared this, but in a lot of ways, I've been unexpectedly successful through hard work and, good luck too, good fortune. I've been successful in life, but I got everything I wanted in terms of my accomplishments in life, but it left me a lot more alone than I ever thought I would be, and it's something that not everybody gets to necessarily experience, and I consider myself very fortunate, but it's you work so hard to accomplish, and fulfill your dreams, and then when you get to your dreams, you still feel empty. And I've experienced that. And, there is a little bit of that going on too in Flowers of Algernon as well as loss and grief and mental health decline and emotional abuse and all that as well. Either way, Flowers of Algernon comes in at number 2. So number 1 is going to be The Road by Cormac McCarthy, written in 2006. Well, I'm a father. I'm a single parent to an 8-year-old boy, the most wonderful, amazing individual in the entire world. That's my Charlie, and he's my best friend, and he's my son, and he is my entire world. And then some. The coolest little guy you'll ever meet in your entire world. This book resonates, I say all that because this book resonates with me as a dad, as a father, with that love that I never knew I could experience before. And it's about a father and son, okay? And it's a post-apocalyptic world, So a father and son basically are trudging through this wasteland, scavenging and trying to stay alive, right? Basically, trying to avoid other violent survivors of the apocalypse as well. So it already has this kind of adventure, obviously a post-apocalyptic vibe to it. But McCarthy, in writing this, he strips away everything, all the fluff, all the ancillary stuff that doesn't really matter. Names, they don't even give names to the characters, right? And what it does is it exposes the underlying core emotions, the human emotions, and ultimately love, true love itself. It's almost, in a way, it's sparse. It's a sparse book, right? Not a ton necessarily happens, but it's a beautiful portrait, ultimately, of a father's devotion to his son, basically on the edge of extinction, And the father's final moments in this book, again, no spoilers, but the simplicity, but also the gravity and just the harrowing of, surrounding things going on in the book, sorry, I'm at a loss of words here, really sit with me to this day, right? Any dads out there, this one is for you. This one is for you if you can handle it. Quote, "You forget what you want to remember, and you remember what you want to forget." Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? I actually make that a big point in my life to try to almost collect memories, right? When I'm having an amazing moment, usually they're nothing profound, but just like little moments where I'm just feeling full of love, full of gratitude. I try to make, as best I can, I try to make a mental note, like never forget this moment. Oftentimes for me, if I put a song on, right, and I can kind of tie a moment in my life that I want to remember to a song as well, that helps. This deals with death. It deals with cannibalism, extreme despair, child endangerment, violence, everything, you know, and then some. But it's a book that I think that every father should, honestly, I think that every father should read this one. And it's great for women too. Don't get me wrong, ladies. I think you'll really enjoy this as well. Even though it's dark and sad, I also think it's very profound and meaningful. So there it is, guys. Those are 8 books that left me crying like a little baby. So hopefully you can read them all too and let me know what you thought of them. And if there's a book that I didn't include, I probably haven't read it, that made you cry, go ahead and leave a recommendation in the description below, or excuse me, the comments below. I can't even speak anymore. Thanks for watching till the end of the video, guys. Much love, and as always, take care.